Okay, so what we're doing today is we're just going to be multiplying and dividing integers. What's nice is there's only one rule you have to remember. And that rule is, remember rule number 3 that we had when two negatives were touching? That's the same rule. When two negatives touch, you circle them and you make them a plus sign. That's it. Then you just do regular multiplication and division. Okay, so for multiplying, thing's pretty thin. Let me make that a little thicker. You're going to find the product, and remember, product is just the fancy math word for multiply, and then you're going to write the negatives. And what will happen is you'll have something like this, where if you have 2 or more, you might be able to circle them and make them positive. So for this one, I just focus on the numbers 2 and 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. And if you notice, there's 2 negatives, so I write them. Well, there's 2 negatives touching, so I can circle and make them positive. And so my answer is just a positive 6. You can leave the answer like this, or you can go ahead and box it in. Some people like to have it clean. Okay, same thing here. Just take care of the numbers. 5 times 3 is 15. Those two make 15. And then now I need to times by 2. 15 times 2 is 30. Now I look at how many negatives I have. I have 1 with the 5 and 1 with the negative 2. So that means I have 2 negatives. Well, same rule, 2 negatives are touching, so I can make them positive. So my answer is positive 30. All right, let's look at this next one when we have more numbers. It still works the same way though. 1 times 4 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. And now I'm going to put those two together. 4 times 10 is 40. So here, though, I have 1, 2, 3 negatives. So 1, 2, 3. Looks kind of funny, but it's okay. We still do our rule. I circle 2 of them. And now what's left over is a negative 40. Some of you guys might notice a pattern and recognize the pattern, and you don't need to do the circling, but some of you will need the circling for a little bit while we're practicing this. All right, the next one, it's a fraction. I don't want you to freak out about fractions. To make 12 a fraction, I'm just going to put 1 on the bottom. And so now remember, fraction is top times top over, I should probably do that. Bottom times bottom. So 3 times 12 is 36. 4 times 1 is 4. And now I'm going to reduce that. 36 divided by 4 is 9. Now you notice there's 2 negatives, so I bring the 2 negatives. And now we use our little rule that we circle them. And now your answer is positive 9. So that's all you got to do for dividing or for multiplying. You just multiply and list the numbers. What's super nice is you do the exact same thing for dividing. Dividing is not a big deal. Don't get thrown off by dividing. Use my pencil. This thing's not working. There we go. So when dividing, you find the quotient. Quotient is the fancy word for dividing. And then you write the negatives. So same thing. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Since there's 1 negative, I write it, and there's nothing else to do. That is the answer. 25 divided by 5 is 5. This one has the 2 negatives, so I write it. But now there's 2 negatives touching, so I circle them, and so that means my answer is positive 5. You notice on all of these, because there's a lot of different numbers there, I'm circling or boxing in my answer. As a teacher, that will make it so that I can see what your answer is. Okay, same thing on the next one. 24 divided by 3 is an 8. There's only 1 negative, so I write the 1 negative, and that's it. And then here, 16 divided by 4 is 4. This one has 2 negatives, so I write them. And then I'm able to circle them, and that tells me my answer is positive 4. Okay? All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to do some examples. I want you to write these 6 problems down. Now, you need to write down the problem and the answer. Don't just write down the answer because that's not going to help you. So I'd like you to write these down, and then when you think you have it, press play. Okay, so 4 times 2 was 8. There was 2 negatives, so you should have circled. So your answer is positive 8, and I'm just going to leave it like that. 3 times 5 is 15. There's a negative, so I write it down. That's the answer. 12 divided by 3 is 4. There's a negative, so I bring it down. So negative 4 is the answer. 15 divided by 3 is 5. There's 2 negatives, so I circle those. And now the answer is positive 5. 2 times 3 is 6. Bring down the 1. 6 times 1 is 6. Now I have 3 negatives, so I'm going to circle 2 of them. And so now my answer actually is negative 6. So that one you had a little bit more to do, but not that bad. And then the last one, 5 times 2 is 10. There's 1 negative, so you bring it down. So make sure you don't mix up the rules about adding and subtracting when it's the same sign and different signs. Don't do that. All you do is multiply or divide, and then you write the number of negatives. And if you see 2 negatives touching, circle them and change it.